the date? November 4th?
5th.
November 5th.
Day,
2003.
Doesn't it show on the thing? Are you
No,
running it now?
it just says record.
Hello, record. How are you? This is Toronto Airport, November 5th, 2003.
2003.
Kuala Luis.
Bye, Louise.
How does that? L-U-I-S?
L-U-I-S.
There you go. That's his last name.
And this is William Marsh.
Bill Marsh, yeah. Right.
Bill Marsh, right there. For
Mary over there.
Mary.
We're from Staten Island.
St. Allen.
Staten Island.
Staten Island. Are you really?
Staten Island, New York.
Are you really? That's where the ferry goes. November 5th, Toronto, 2003.
But when we get there, I think it's morning or something. I don't know, or is it near lunch? Near lunchtime. Yeah, it's going to be near lunchtime.
bus sound system as we enter into Jerusalem. This the buildings you see now are the buildings on the very western edge of Jerusalem, and we'll be traveling through the western side of Jerusalem. I purposely have asked Levon not to take us into the center of Jerusalem, which we see when we come back from Galilee. You know, these 2 days, tomorrow is a day for Bethlehem, for the home of John the Baptist and Ein Karim. I'm trying to kind of do this trip as a in historical order. So we're starting with of Jesus. So Jesus came to Jerusalem. The central events in Jesus' life in Jerusalem happened at the end of his life. So I'm saving the main part of Jerusalem for when we come back next Wednesday. So we'll be kind of traveling through the western edges of Jerusalem, down to the south to Tantur, and then we will, so we won't be seeing the center of Jerusalem during these 2 days, unless we have to change our schedule tomorrow because maybe some problems in Bethlehem, but I don't anticipate that. So let me see if I can get this sound system to work up here, and we'll listen to Jerusalem, My Destiny as we enter into Jerusalem.
6th, 11:50 p.m. and Phoenix time is November 6th, 3 p.m. And this we're inside the College of Theology where we're staying. And it's somewhat the architecture here. I'm somewhat roaming. No one knows that I'm here. We just got in about, excuse me, it's 11:45 Phoenix time, November 6th, and it is right now 9:30 Phoenix time. I mean, Jerusalem time. And it goes up. Our room is right there. Can't go through because it's an emergency door.
Place to be kept under Jewish control. So the Jews are going there, so they just close it off to everybody else. So only Jews can go as far as Rachel's too. So you see the barricades in the street on the right in front of us here. Normally people would be able to come in that way, but there are barricades there in the police. So we're going to go in through Bet Jala, which is one of the three mostly Christian, or at least in the past have been mostly Christian villages that are just south of Jerusalem. The word Bet means house or home, and so Bethlehem is Lehem is bread, so Bethlehem is house of bread. There are some fields around Bethlehem which are one of the few places with the right climate and the right kind of soil in this part of the world to grow wheat. So bread came from Bethlehem, house of bread. And of course for us, Sahur, shepherd, so shepherd's house. This is where we're going to go visit a shrine called Shepherd's Field, where the shepherds were the first to receive the good news of the birth of Jesus. So we'll go to a place that commemorates that. And we're going in through Bet Jala, so house of, and I don't know what Jala means. What's Bet Jala? House of, yeah, Levon doesn't know either. So it's house of something. So these three villages, Bet Jala, Bet his house for dinner on Sunday. He and his wife were telling me how they, like most people in Bethlehem, feel that they are simply prisoners in this small town of Bethlehem. So today in Bethlehem, after a little over 50 years of being first under Jordanian control and now under Israeli control, the population in Bethlehem is about 70 to 80% Muslim, and the Christians are now a minority in Bethlehem, where before they were a large majority. I am told.
Going into Bethlehem. Checkpoint.
Where do you live? Africa?
Cape Town.
Cape Town.
And where do you come from? Which part do you come from?
Well, I was just going to say my younger brother was in Africa in the Peace Corps for 3 years. Liberia, where you can't go now.
Right. But in the States, where do you live?
In the States, we live in Arizona.
Such as it is.
Oh, okay.
See the sign over here, the Arab Orthodox Sports Club. Many things here happen, at the churches. This would be the Orthodox Church. And then a mosque on the left.
Arab Orthodox. Is that a Christian?
Well, Orthodox Christians are yes Christians. Of course, the church split in the year 1004 between Rome and Constantinople. In the east, the church became mostly Orthodox. In the west, we became Latin or Roman Catholics. And so the Orthodox are Christians. As I mentioned to you last night, Lavon is part of the Armenian Orthodox Church. You know, the Armenians are the oldest Christian country in the world, the first country to embrace Christianity. And the Armenians also have a very strong presence here in the Holy Land. So there are 3 patriarchs in Jerusalem, a Greek Orthodox patriarch, an Armenian Orthodox patriarch, and a Roman Catholic patriarch.
They're asking if this was not.
I didn't hear.
They're asking about this. Is this a light traffic time?
Yeah,
of day?
it's light traffic. It is of course. This is by the way, the Roman Catholic Church and the seminary on our left here. This is and Bet Jala. So it is Friday, the holy day for Muslims, with the people who live here. So this is kind of Sunday traffic a little bit. But again, understand that the economy is very, very depressed here. People don't have jobs. They don't have, the stores are closed. They don't have any money to spend. All those things make life here very difficult. People don't have a whole lot of reasons to go out. By the way, the people, especially the children, wouldn't mind at all if you waved at them. Now, Bethlehem in front of you is very modern. We're going to go, when we go later on after our visit to Shepherd's Field, to the Church of the Nativity, I'll talk a little bit about how Bethlehem was not a very large place in the time of Jesus. Certainly not nearly as large as it is today. And so perhaps you don't get much of a sense of, oh, little town of Bethlehem. And probably even when we get to the Church of the Nativity, you may... Oh, town of Bethlehem, how still we see thee lie. Above thy deep and dreamless sleep, the silent stars go by. Yet in thy dark street shine the everlasting light. The hopes and fears of all the years are met in thee tonight. For Christ is born of Mary and gathered all above. While mortals sleep, the angels keep their watch of wondering love. O morning stars together proclaim the holy birth, and praises sing to God the King, and peace to all on earth. So wait a minute for the 3rd and 4th verse so I can say a couple things and get all anxious. We're going through things I want to point out to you. This is ahead of us is the main street in Bethlehem. Down to the left is Costa's store where we're going to go. To our right is Bethlehem University where we have lunch today. And so we are in kind of the main street of Bethlehem. This street, they had warned me before I came that people were going to be upset because the street here had been all torn up. You know, this is the street the tanks used to come up. They knocked down all the lights, tore up the street with their tank treads during the siege of Bethlehem when Israel laid siege to the Church of the Nativity. But it's all been fixed. I was pleasantly surprised when I came in on Sunday. It's all fixed, and Costas told me to tell you all, on behalf of the people of Bethlehem, thank you very much, because it was the government of the United States that paid to have the road there fixed. So your tax dollars at work refixing the roads in Bethlehem. On the top of the house to the left there, you see a model of the Eiffel Tower. Many Palestinians' homes have a model of the Eiffel Tower with their television antenna attached to it. It's very kind of popular. Not so much here in Bethlehem, but in Ramallah, which is the Palestinian city just to the north of Jerusalem. We're not going to be able to go there, but if we were driving through there, you'd see many, many Eiffel Towers on the top of the houses. And you see typically here too, you have a store underneath and then the family homes above. The wondrous gift is given, so God imparts to human hearts the blessings of His heaven. No fear. Anything you want to on the bus during the day, Levon will be with the bus, so everything is safe.
This is where the shepherds announced the birth of Jesus Christ. Shepherds Field, where the shepherds were at.
No. We're going to pray, and then we're going to come up and have a concert. You can take pictures, yes. You know, this is a natural cave. And so at nighttime, in the time of Jesus, the hills around here had lots of wild animals. There would certainly be wolves, there were jaguars, there were big cats. And so the shepherd would be very concerned about keeping his sheep safe. So he'd bring them into a natural cave like this, and there wouldn't be a doorway there, but there'd be an opening in the natural cave. And the shepherd would sleep across the doorway. He would sleep across the doorway. His sheep...
To you, the Messiah and Lord. Let this be a sign to you. In a manger you will find an infant wrapped in swaddling clothes. Suddenly there was with the angel a multitude of the heavenly host, praising God and saying, Glory to God in the high heaven, peace on earth, to those on whom His favor rests. When the angels had returned to heaven, the shepherds said to one another, Let us go over to Bethlehem and see this event, which the Lord has made known to us. They went in haste and found Mary and Joseph and the baby lying in the manger. Once they saw it, they understood what had been told them concerning this child. All who heard of it were astonished at the report given them by the shepherds.
Gloria in excelsis Deo. Gloria in excelsis Deo. Come to Bethlehem and see Him whose birth. The Shepherd's Field, I can plug it in. Because I want to see if I can't buy one. Shepherd's Field, where the announcement of the Lord, the birth of shepherds. And there's a star. And
Well, I hope I can write postcards about this.
You'll have to start buying them soon.
Yes.
I know. Being Americans, we're buyers.
We'll have our private concert.
Being that I'll never come back. Is what
I
I
know.
you know.
Come, what else can I see?
That would be nice.
Ecce Angelus Domini, stedet super ios. The angel of the Lord said unto them. Well, yeah, well, I only know it because I know what the English version is. If it was just Latin up there, I'd have no idea. It wasn't familiar verse. Basically, yeah.
Isn't that beautiful? I know. Look at the little chapels.
We do have to be on our way before too long. I know this is wonderful for you, but we have other wonderful things to see today. So please come on in and take a seat. If you do want postcards in this place, this is probably the best place to get a postcard. This chapel was built by the Canadians. You know, so the Canadians, you notice on the front here, we have the Canadian maple leaf. And it was recently.
Very pretty. Coming up to a place of birth of Jesus. the mosque. Christian church.
How much for postcard? $1 for 10 postcards of all of Bethlehem.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you this morning? Yeah, so you know how much they're going to pay us?
Well, they haven't met us yet.
Oh, that's thank you.
You are a father.
Christianity was banned. So there were no Christian churches built for the first 300 years until about 325. And Christians at that point in time gathered to worship in what are known as house churches. So there would have been no public edifices for Christians to worship in. When Constantine embraced Christianity, he sent his mother, Saint Helena, to this country, and she built 3 great basilicas. One in the Holy Sepulchre, where Jesus was buried, crucified, and raised from the dead. Not in that order: crucified, buried, raised from the dead. One on the Mount of Olives, where Jesus ascended into heaven, and one here in Bethlehem, where he was born. Most of the church you see here is that church that St. Helena built in the year 325, more or less, about that time. So it has experienced. But he came here to Bethlehem. The Muslims believe that Jesus is a great prophet, the greatest prophet after Muhammad. They believe that Jesus' mother, Mary, was a virgin and that she gave birth to Jesus here in Bethlehem. And they honor Mary and they honor Jesus. For that reason, they had come to the Christians here and said, this is a holy place for us too, because Jesus the prophet was born here, because Mary gave birth to Jesus here. So, would it be possible for us to pray in your church? And the Christians here, maybe inspired by the Holy Spirit, said yes. So there was a part of the church that was set aside for the Muslims to pray. So when the Egyptian caliph came here, he was a Muslim, he was ready to destroy this church. And the local Muslims came and said, no, no, you cannot destroy this church. This is a Muslim place of prayer too. So for that reason, this church, if you're young enough to jump up here on the top, that would be good.
I'll climb up.
There we go.
Thank you.
Lisa, hurry up, you have to give your picture.
Thank you, Francis.
This is the entrance to the chapel where Jesus Christ was born. November 7th, 12:30 a.m. Phoenix time. But it's actually 9:30 Jerusalem, Bethlehem time.
No. As would be the case anytime you have 200 people living in a space like this that wasn't meant to be a living space. The church was pretty well trashed. They didn't do any damage to the structure or the width. It was finally a negotiated end to the siege. All the Christians, the Catholics, the Orthodox, the Armenians, Syrians, all of them came in and worked together for 2 days to clean the church so that it would be back to the state it was before. That's basically, as you see it now, is how I knew it 3 years ago. There are some European saints which are depicted in those mosaics. Those mosaics one time covered the entire walls. And today the church is largely in the property and ownership of the Greek Orthodox. So this is a Greek Orthodox worshiping community. We will visit in a few moments the place where the Latin Catholic, Roman Catholics worship. Let's go ahead and go over here and see what the situation is. We're going down. Yes, this is where the people, the Greek Orthodox people in Bethlehem, their parish church.
They stay there.
Yes.
Later in here.
It was 2001. Yeah, I think it was 2001. Maybe first part of 2002. And I'll show you when we go outside. We're going to go down and look at a natural cave below where Jesus was born. Bethlehem is on a hill. We just came up that hill. That was the advantage of walking it up. Bethlehem's on a hill like this. And originally the entrance to this cave would have been from this way, from the hill. There would have been some kind of little structure in front, probably, which was probably a place where people could stay overnight when they came to Bethlehem, as Mary and Joseph did. Behind there would have been a natural cave where the innkeeper, if you will, would have kept like his animals and his stores in a dry and safe place back behind the cave. So there would have been a simple little room in front. When the Bible says there was no room in the inn, it doesn't mean that there was a no vacancy sign. It means that people just slept on the floor side by side, head to toe. And that's where Mary and Joseph were no doubt staying in Bethlehem. But Mary was getting ready to give birth to a baby. You can't give birth to a baby when you're sitting side by side, head to toe. So Mary and Joseph moved back into the cave where only the animals were, and there was a little bit more room for her to have a little bit more privacy for her to give birth to the baby Jesus. So that's the cave we're going to see. Now, they say the entrance to the cave is on that end. We're going to go in. This is not a natural entrance. This is a man-made entrance that brings us into what would have been the natural back of the cave. When you go in, immediately to your right, there is a star in the floor, and that star says in Latin, "Here was born the Savior of the world." That's the place where Jesus was born. And then off to the side, I'll point out to you, is the Chapel of the Manger, which is the only thing the Franciscans still have in this basilica, the Chapel of the Manger, where the baby Jesus would have been laid after Mary gave her birth. The customary thing is to do is to kneel in front of the star and to kiss it, make the sign of the cross, touch the star, make the sign of the cross, kiss it, whatever you want to do. And we'll move back in the cave and I'll talk to you a bit more, okay? Be careful, it's very steep stairs. Just take your time, slowly. Very steep, uneven stairs, so watch your step. Faccia bene.
Where do you come from?
Americans.
American. Oh, we have here Americans.
Yes, I know.
Study in
I know
philosophy.
George, Lawrence.
Yeah.
Yes.
And John and Andrew.
Oh,
Now.
good.
Okay, I say, I talk with him,
Okay.
and they come here.
Okay, good.
See you.
Good to
Sleep in heaven.
You told me you'd be here.
Morning bells are going. Morning bells are going.
You were asking about a bathroom, but maybe they're probably long.
Morning bells are going. All right. Oh, this is the place that the angels told St. Joseph to leave. Huh.
Pardon?
This is the place where the angels told St. Joseph to leave
Oh, is this
Egypt.
the place?
It says, antes domine apparut in somnes tesutis in surci. Accept sum amatrem ehus. I could estive on the dome to come to thee.
Hello, brother, we're early.
I expected you a little later.
I know, but we're here now. So this is Brother Lawrence. He's in
Brother.
the United States. And Brother Lawrence takes care of this and made this like Father Michelle, the other place, made this a lovely place for us to visit. So we're gonna go down and look at what's here. He'll tell us maybe a little bit about that, and then he has a special little shrine he wants to show us inside.
Okay. The milk grotto, we have two stories about the milk grotto. That while the Holy Family was fleeing from Bethlehem to Egypt, the baby Jesus became hungry and he started to cry. And Mary, she hid herself here in order to give milk. That's why they call it the milk grotto. The other story is we take directly from the scriptures that St. Matthew wrote, that when the three kings from the east came to Bethlehem, he writes that they entered into a house. So these are two stories, but it's more likely that the Holy Family spent some time here, where Mary is the full mother, where she's giving her milk to nourish the baby Jesus. That's why they call it the milk grotto. So now we can go in and see it. Okay?
King David. Go ahead. The milk grotto. St. Joseph.
Okay, so in your songbooks, so come all you faithful. I left mine upstairs, so they're all numbers. They're all alphabetical, so if someone finds it, tell me what number it is.
23.
23. thousands of years ago.
November
But
10th.
sometimes it results in the images that we have in our mind perhaps not meshing with the exact thing that we see in the Holy Land. I always like to encourage my pilgrims to maybe put aside some of those images that we've had before and with fresh eyes and a new perspective and come away enriched by our visit to Nazareth. We are arriving now in the outskirts of Nazareth. Like I said, it is today a large city. Actually, up on the hill above us is Nazareth Elite, Upper Nazareth, which is where the Israelis have built a community. So there are Israeli Jews who live in Nazareth now, but they live up on the hill in Upper Nazareth. And that big building on the top of the hill that you see there was built as a Marriott hotel. Again, because of the bad tourist times, it is no longer a Marriott, and I'm not even sure that it's open as a hotel right now. It might be closed down right now, but it's a nice hotel. And Nazareth itself lies in a little pocket in these hills. Again, remember I said it was originally built at Jesus' time. It was originally, well, they were very, in different eras, in different periods, before Jesus and after Jesus, Nazareth would be habitated, and then there'd be no one living here. Then there'd be people living here, and there'd be no one living here. So when I tell you that it's living here, today you can see it's a fairly large town. And again, the largest Arab Palestinian town in Israel. And Nazareth has been in Israel since 1948 when Israel came into existence. The people here the Arabs who are here are Israeli citizens. They have a right to vote and participate, pay their tax. We're saying that like after dinner you'd like to go for a little walk or something, and because the road is on one street up, kind of the main business street, so and you know, be with you there for an hour or so while you kind of walked around, took a look, and got your walks in after dinner. So that's awesome. You're probably going to have enough walking today, but just in case anybody's still desperate to walk, we have a nice walk in Tiberias. Rosaries or something, you can do that. But if a few of us start stopping and doing a little shopping, then that delays the whole group, and it means that we have difficulty as the day goes on to get in all the things that we'd like to do. In a moment, you'll be able to look out the right side of the bus down in this little valley between the mountains here, where central Nazareth is, and you can see the church now to the right with the pointed dome, the conical dome. Now the building's in the way, but in a moment we'll have another view of the church.
$1.
Okay.
Another one. Get a blue one.
I only just need one. I just need one.
You haven't worn it.
The other step, please.
So this is the Greek Orthodox Church. It is an old church here. Actually, the Greek Orthodox community is one of the oldest in Nazareth. And the difference between a Catholic church and Greek Orthodox church, that in the Catholic church, people can get close to the altar. Men, women, girls, boys, whoever. Here in the Greek Orthodox, there is a curtain, a wall, a fence called iconostasis. And yeah, please.
That's the picture of that church.
When you finish, if anybody wants to lit a candle and make a wish, usually it works.
Mary's well, where the Annunciation took place. The water is holy and it's miraculous, healing as healing powers. Road from the well to Mary's, from the well that was over here. To Mary's home. The Church of Nazareth, Mary's home.
Year 2000, the year 2000 something, millions of pilgrims will come. So the church that we had here was not very large, was not also built on good foundations. I mean the construction, not the building I am talking, not the church, understand? So this is mainly for built church. It was
The location where St. Mary was home and where the Annunciation was finished by the angel Gabriel.
I believe this is
Just quick.
praying sometimes. The issue is Father started to say about Luera. And I was listening to the nun leading the children in a prayer.
November the 11th. It is right now 11 a.m. in the Church of the Annunciation, where Mary was told by the angel Gabriel that she was going to have Jesus Christ. Anything important to say?
Oh, yes, John's friend. Did you meet him? Yes,
Yes.
Bill's talking to the friend.
Okay.
Regardez, ici c'est l'ange. Là-bas c'est la mort de Saint Joseph. Mais ici, c'est quand Saint Joseph.
The Holy Family.
C'est bien.
Ave Maria. The first Ave Maria written on the column by the Crusaders. There it is right there. Graffiti on the rock. Museum. Made out of stone. They're about 8 inches, 10 inches tall, and Jesus walked on the water. We must hurry. November 12th, 12:38, which is, I believe it's 9 o'clock, 8 a.m. Oh, did I have my map? I got you on camera. So, this is amazing.
This is amazing.
It makes me wonder if there were,
November 12th, 2003.
all right, 2003, and it's
We're on pilgrimage in the Holy Land.
9 o'clock in the morning, and right now we're looking at the Montezuma Castle.
Before the Mexican
Yeah, there's a whole comedy TV here also.
always fighting battles, aren't
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna take a little restroom pause here because we've done the best for a long time.
Wow, look how pretty it looks. Ah. The Temple of Pan, huh?
Women on that
All the way down.
That's pretty good.
Jesus walked all the way from Siberia.
I know, I keep thinking about that.
Well, it is really pretty here. I see it. And then there's something, a dome or a pyramid up there.
You know, Father is a blessing for me. I just got a phone call that they are requesting me on a group that is not 100% coming, but they are. I hope.
Hey, you want me to take a picture? Saw it, Luis and the girls. And the waters are clear.
is important. We don't want to gloss that over, but it's the faith of Peter, his profession. The Bishop of Rome, the successor of Peter, serves as a center of unity for the whole church, but Christ is our unity. So before we listen to the reading, we'll sing first the church's one foundation, remembering that Christ is the foundation of the church. That's on page 36. Page 36.
Suffer to be his holy bride. With his own blood he bought her, and for her life.
Now when Jesus came into the district of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, "Who do people say that the Son of Man is?" And they said, "Some say John the Baptist, and others Elijah, and still others Jeremiah or one of the prophets." And he said to them, "But who do you say that I am?" Simon Peter answered, "You are the Messiah, the Son of the living God." And Jesus answered him, "Blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah, for flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father in heaven. And I tell you, you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades will not prevail against it. I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven." Then he sternly ordered the disciples not to tell anyone that he was the Messiah. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Glory to the Father, to the Son,
And to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, a world without end.
to lead the church. And certainly it is clear from the text that that is what Jesus intends. But it's interesting, some of our Protestant brothers and sisters who don't read the text exactly that way want to say that when Jesus says, "You are Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church." Of course, the word Peter means rock, so it's a little play on words as well. As Charlie pointed out to you, you can see the rocks around here. So, you know, Jesus was using the local visual, which he almost always did when he preached. We'll see an example of that again when we go by the Mount of Beatitudes. I'll point out to you something else that shows from another story that Jesus tells, how he probably told it in an area very much like the Mount of Beatitudes, because all the elements of the story are there. But here, we have lots of rock at this place where the spring comes out from the headwaters of Jordan. So, Jesus is playing on the word Peter and rock, but the Protestants say that the rock, upon this rock I will build my church, is the rock of Peter's faith, not the person Peter. As Charlie pointed out to you, in this part of the world, names always mean something. So it's really clear to anyone who is familiar with kind of the anthropology of names in this part of the world that Jesus is referring to the person of Peter. But I think also the Protestants also have it right. Because they would say that the rock that Jesus is talking about there is the rock of Peter's faith. Because Peter had just declared, when asked the question, "Who do you say that I am?" that Jesus was the Messiah. Now, Peter doesn't, I don't think, even when he said these words here, I don't think he still fully understood what it meant that Jesus was the Messiah. But he had begun that journey in faith. He'd begun to make that effort, which would be a lifelong effort, I think, for Peter. It's a lifelong effort for each one of us to come to understand who Jesus is for us and how Jesus becomes a part of our life and helps us to grow during all of our lives ever closer to God. So here we celebrate the faith of Peter, which is our faith as well. We rejoice that God has given us that gift of faith, and we are able also to make that journey in coming to a deeper and more profound knowledge of who God is in our life, who Jesus is in our life. And we celebrate the special ministry that Jesus gave to Peter and to Peter's successors, the bishops of Rome, as the one who holds the church together upon the foundation being Jesus Christ. So I'm going to let Charlie now kind of talk to you some more about this place, and then we'll have a chance to walk up to the spring and see the place for which this place is named.
Well, how can you know that the person in the picture is Peter. What is so special in Peter, statues or pictures? Keys. He is always holding keys, like you saw in Capernaum, probably. Well, 1957, I was 8 years old, and it was my first communion, and I was wishing to die after minute or second after I get the communion. Even I slept as a dead, hoping, God, this is the time. Take me, I am clean. He didn't, I don't know why. Maybe just to meet you later on. But in that year, my cousin, who is 2 years older than I am, came to me and said, Khalil, don't worry, we'll go to heaven. I said, I know, I have my communion. No, forget about your communion. We'll go to heaven. How come? He said, I'll let you know later. And in the evening, we had a serious problem in the church. Somebody entered the church and destroyed a statue, the statue of Saint Peter. And they accused in the beginning the Greek Orthodox that did that. We didn't accuse Muslims because there were few Muslims and they were very quiet because we were the majority. So who will enter a Catholic church will be a Greek Orthodox. But the police didn't arrive to anything. In the 70s, that is almost 4 years later, my cousin got married and he wanted to move from the old house. He was living with his father. So he asked me to help in removing things. And one of the kids from the quarter, we told them, don't throw anything in the trash before asking us. So one of the kids came with something in the hand. Do you need this or we have to throw it away? And I looked at that. Now I understand. That was the hand of Saint Peter holding the keys. My cousin he wasn't able to take the keys. He broke the statue, the hand of the statue, and took the hand and the keys. So he guaranteed me heaven. He has the keys.
The water is coming from inside the mountain, as you can see over there also. And you can see to the right, it's the mountain. Little walkways here, but this mountain Heron or Haram, it's in the Bible, it's covered with snow. And this is the Hermon River Springs. And underneath the mountain is a lot of sandstone, and the water is like coming from underneath the and this is the temple of Pan. And Pan was the god of the shepherds, a pagan god. And here's where Jesus Christ told Peter that he would be the rock. And on this rock, and there's the temple.
Are a group of Arabs. They are not Muslims. They used to be Muslim, but since the year 1000 they split from Islam. They have a very secret, mysterious faith. They have their own villages. And why their villages were not destroyed? Because there are Jews also in Israel that are serving in the army. They request the Israeli army, don't stop. Do whatever you want. don't touch the nucleus. And maybe the Vatican had a church. Here the only church in the Golan Heights. And that is a Maronite church that you can see its dome over there. You see? There is the clocher, the bell, the tower, and the dome. That is the only church. It is not active. There are no Maronites. There are 2 Christians in the Golan Heights living among the Jews today. Druze, sorry. So this is the temple. This is Banyas. This is where the Bible also took place. So this is also something that will make the Bible more alive when you read it and understand why Peter, why rock, why peace, why. This is the place. Maybe you are standing even where maybe some of the disciples or Jesus was. Who knows?
But like Charlie says, very unlikely that Jesus' disciples would have been here. This is a pagan worship place. So, but Caesarea Philippi, you can't, it's just so open and natural now, you can't, but it was a big city, it was a capital. You know, Herod's son made this the capital of this region. So there was a good-sized city here around Jesus' time, and there would have been a part of the city where Jews could have maybe have been comfortable.
Yeah, something just for fun. The man who is excavating this specific place is an ex-priest, Greek Orthodox priest. He became a Jew, I can say, and he is getting budget from the National Parks Authority. No budget today. He excavated here since '67, and we came for studying days tours here. Last one was in '99, and he said in the end of the day, because he is the authority of the excavation, listen guys, I know you, the tour guides, have my books. Please throw them away, because in my new excavations I discovered that all my theories are wrong. So buy the new ones. He discovered new things that he didn't publish yet.
Apparently the water came down this way.
Mhm.
Water came down and rolled over the hill here.
There have been a number of different temples, like the temple that we did. So there would have been the temple of Khan was the primary cultic site here, but there were a number of other temples for other gods and for the emperor's gods. The only stupid question is the ones you don't answer.
Carved right into the stone. Tranquilo, ¿no?
In the Beatitudes, so don't look up before you go in. Take your seat, kind of let the Spirit guide you to what pew you want to sit on. There's just one row of pews in this octagonal thing, so you know, pick your seat, and then when you look up, you'll see the virtue which you are supposed to practice for the rest of the day. Our Mass will be outdoors. It has been sprinkling a little bit, so if you want to, you know, bring your little plastic bonnets or umbrellas, inshallah it won't sprinkle while we're at Mass, but we'll be having Mass outdoors, and you want to bring your songbooks. And if, you know, again, lunch is included today, but if you want a beverage, something additional to what is on the lunch, you need a few shekels for that, and the sisters have some postcards and things that you can look at as well, so you might want to bring a couple shekels with you as well. Songbooks, maybe a little something in case it decides to sprinkle, a few shekels maybe.
One of the things that I like in this place, a lot of people come here with concerns, with worries. And if you listen to the birds, they don't worry, and still God provide them with everything. So I don't know if this is the place where Jesus said that, but if you sit there quiet, relaxing, meditating, and you hear the birds, you will hear them telling you, don't worry. Whatever happens, God is with you. So all your problems will be solved in the end. Don't worry, be happy. You see this statue sitting here to the right, moving his hand only. This is Abu Samir, the father of Samir. He is known by Abu Samir. Almost nobody knows his real name. Abu Samir. Okay, let's go, please.
Avocado.
Wow.
El avocado está así.
Oh, but then look at how many trees. I thought it was one. It's like a circle of trees.
Yeah.
Rubber. Yeah, but not the rubber that you make the wheels from. It is the same family.
I'm sorry?
This is where you walk up the mountain.
Yeah, beatitude.
Oh, careful.
Come
Came out quite a way.
Yeah, I take them.
Quite a walk.
You can all stay together for a few minutes, please. We'll give you lots of time to walk around and explore.
Yeah. Please.
Well, remember what your Latin was is and we'll give you a translation.
From here, Jesus Christ spoke to the multitude. The multitude of the Beatitudes of the Sea of Galilee. That is Tiberias at Galilee.
Heureux et partout dans le fait, car ils seront appelés fils de Dieu. Heureux les persécutés pour la justice, car le royaume des cieux est à eux. Heureux est eux.
This is the Mount of Beatitudes where Jesus came and preached to the multitudes, to the thousands. And the reason you could, because there were valleys like this here where you could stand like here on top and all the people would be at the bottom. And these valleys are like an auditorium. The acoustic is so good that you could hear all the way to the bottom to the sea. As you can hear Father Garrett at the bottom there. He comes up.
Actually preached the Sermon on the Mount, because remember, in one gospel it's called the Sermon on the Mount, and the other gospel is called the Sermon on the Plain. The cave that about a dozen of us walked up to, it's about 10 yards, 20 yards up the hill from the road. So down almost on the plain. Jesus standing on the mount, the people standing on the flat area down below. And lots of people say that that might be the place. I don't think anybody actually claims that Jesus gave the Sermon on the Mount from the top of this mountain. But certainly this hill, this area, is where Jesus preached and taught many times. And of course the Sermon on the Mount in the Gospel is not really just one sermon. It's kind of a compilation of many of the sermons that Jesus gave in this.
Full of gratitude. Then God's own peace, which is beyond all understanding, will stand guard over your hearts and minds in Jesus Christ. Finally, my brothers, your thoughts should be wholly directed to all that is true, all that deserves respect, all that is honest, pure, admirable, decent, virtuous, or worthy of praise. Live according to what you have learned and accepted, what you have heard me say and seen me do. Then will the God of peace be with you. This is the word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
Responsory Psalm. Happy the pure in spirit, the kingdom of heaven is theirs.
And also with you.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up on the mountainside. After he had sat down, the disciples gathered around him and began to teach them. How blessed are the poor in spirit, the reign of God is theirs. Blessed too are the sorrowing, they shall be consoled. Blessed are the lowly, they shall inherit the land. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for holiness, they shall have their fill. Blessed are they who show mercy, mercy shall be theirs. Blessed are the single-hearted, for they shall see God. Blessed too the peacemakers, they shall be called children of God. Blessed are those persecuted for holiness' sake, the reign of God is theirs. Blessed are you when they insult you and persecute you, and utter every kind of slander against you because of me. Be glad and rejoice, for your reward in heaven is great. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. The month of Beatitudes, where Jesus Christ would meet with the crowds and preach. Now, that leaf right there is thorny. So you could see where it's maybe thousands of years ago, they would sit in the thorns. They would.
Beatitudes.
Well, what do you think, Bill?
It's the Sermon on the Mount.
At the Sermon on the Mount,
Yeah, this is where the Lord taught the people the Beatitudes. Which is, I can't
and where
put
are you,
them all out.
And where are you from, Bill?
Staten Island, New York. This is my lovely bride.
Staten Island?
Hi. Would
Say
you want a
hey,
picture?
I'm Mary.
Oh, hi, Mary.
Do they believe in the Beatitudes in New York?
Yes,
Yes, they do.
some of them. Some of them.
Do you want a picture here for somebody to take a picture of us, hon, with your camera?
This is the.
You'll take it.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
Give it to him.
I'll take it. Here we are at the Mount of Beatitudes, sitting down to eat. Conference room. from?
Going down the Danube from
And the plate. And oh, there's Bill again. There he is.
You're going to go by yourself
Ham and a
or with
camera.
somebody?
Now he's going to have, he called his lunch. Any famous words?
November 12th.
Is it 12?
Then you meet
November
people there.
November
Meet people
12th.
there. You don't know anybody?
2003.
2003, 12:30. 12:30, Israel, Mount Beatitudes.
I'd probably stay in the house.
With the nuns.
With the nuns.
Carmelite nuns.
Carmelite lights, okay.
Carmelite nuns.
Carmelite lights. And over here, we go there and they have beer.
Just in the house.
Beer glasses.
Shirley moved away to get away from her, but she followed her.
Yes, my husband and I moved so we could get away from it, because I was an only child. Family. I'm trying to change your mind about that.
Let me prop a moment here for you.
That's all right. I mean, I can see it.
Okay.
To the house.
There, I got it.
Number from, but the number I have there is not the correct number.
This land is true.
And I've made the change in my record so that I can be sure that I can get a hold of him. But should you, get lost in Jerusalem, it's good to have all those numbers on there correct. So if you have your prayer card and you got a pen or a pencil and you would like to scratch out the one for Levon and put in his correct cell phone number, then it'd be good because you hopefully will have your prayer card. The pensioners will all know what Notre Dame is. And that's where we'll be staying. Now, I'm not anticipating anyone gets lost. I presume that we have all sheep and no goats on this group. But just in case, things are a little bit more complicated and a little bit more difficult to organize and keep together in Jerusalem because we're walking much of the time, and so the group we're not taking a count in the bus every half hour or so. Rather, we're when we're in the city walking on the streets, it's much more difficult. Ahead of us is Jericho. Jericho is the world's oldest city. If we're able to go into Jericho, you'll see Tel Jericho, which has Charlie told you that Tel we passed today had maybe 16 layers. Tel Jericho maybe has 24, 25 layers. But we know this is the oldest continually occupied city in the world. And it's the oldest city because here there is a large a large spring, which has been a constant source of fresh water here in this very dry, arid area. So you can see the area around Jericho is green and lush. They grow lots of vegetables here. It's warm all year round here. It never rains in Jericho. And actually, this was a great resort center for the whole Middle Eastern world in ancient days in the wintertime. When it was cold and uncomfortable other places, it would be warm and sunny here. Cleopatra and Mark Antony spent their winters together here in Jericho. Herod had a large palace here in Jericho. Very popular kind of winter destination for the rich and famous in ancient days. It is a Palestinian town. It has actually a couple of sites that we could visit that are interesting from the Bible standpoint. And we'll try on the day that we come down here. Maybe we'll be able to get in, maybe not. The Israelis have it as an area that they control entrance and exit from. So it's kind of like Bethlehem that way. And in fact, they're a little less likely to let people flow any water into the Dead Sea anymore, which is still several miles ahead of us. But in a moment, we'll see a sign that leads off to the baptismal spot. This is the natural ford in the Jordan River between the West Bank and the East Bank. And it has been the common route of movement for people throughout all the centuries as they move across from east to west through the Jordan Valley. We have been going downhill all along, so we are further below sea level now than we were in Galilee. Probably here we're 1,000, 1,100 feet below sea level. The Dead Sea is actually 1,400 feet below sea level. But it was at this crossing point in the Jordan River that the Israelites, the Hebrew people, first entered the Promised Land. Moses got as far as those mountains you see in the distance ahead of the bus. One of those mountains out there is Mount Nebo, where the Franciscans have a shrine and an archaeological dig. And by tradition, Moses saw the Promised Land from Mount Nebo, which is almost directly ahead of us now. It's the tallest point at the end of the mountains there before they start dropping down. That's Mount Nebo. And at that point, Moses saw the Promised Land before he died. By tradition, he's buried there. To the left now is Allenby Bridge, the way that you would go into Jordan if you had a visa already. You could go into Jordan that way. So basically two crossings for people. There's another truck crossing where only freight can cross. But here, moved out of exile into the land that God gave them to live in, they crossed the Jordan River there. John the Baptist prefigured the sacrament of baptism, by which we move from sin and death to life and grace, out of exile into Promised Land through the waters of baptism. That's where John baptized. And it is there that John would have baptized Jesus. Not at the place where we did it, but there. So why did we do it up there? Well, we did it up there because here we cannot go there. It's a closed military zone by the Israelis. Only twice a year, one day for the Roman Catholics, one day for the Greek Orthodox, are pilgrims allowed to go down there. There are actually the ruins of at least 3 large churches down there. The Greek Orthodox, the Roman Catholics, and the Armenians all have the ruins of large churches and monasteries that had been there before. But again, because it's a closed military zone, we could not go down there unless we happened to be there on the specific day in January when we are circling around Jericho. We are going on one of those bypass roads that Charlie was telling you about. Circling around Jericho would be much quicker and much more interesting for us to be able to pass through Jericho. But actually the entrance on the side that we just passed is not, there's no access for us at all. And I think there's only a remote chance of access from the other side. A little Greek Orthodox monastery on the left, St. Gerasimos, and here the Greeks keep kind of their remembrance of the baptismal place of Jesus, since the actual place is not available to them but one day a year. In Jericho, it's a mostly Muslim population, but there are small Christian communities there. There's a Catholic parish church with a Catholic school. The Greek Orthodox have a church there as well. Stephen Doyle, and those of you who have Stephen Doyle's book, say that it's a good place. That little Catholic school there is a good place to read the story of the Good Shepherd, because the children, as they play in the playground, look like wild sheep jumping around. So it's a little bit of a stretch to make a connection between that place and the story of the Good Shepherd. But we may very well, as we make up our way up to Jerusalem, we're going to be shortly turning to the right and making our way up into those hills you see in himself. John was in the desert eating honey and wild locusts, grasshoppers. And most biblical scholars, what I mentioned as we looked at the area around Ein Karim, which also would have been included in that same word that the Bible sometimes translates as desert. All of this area is more appropriately called, and therefore the word is more appropriately translated not as desert but as wilderness. This is a very dry and arid wilderness. The area around Ein Karim was a slightly greener and wetter wilderness, but still a wilderness. You can see the Dead Sea off to the right there. Not that real close water, but the farther water out there, now behind the bus. And again, we're going to be coming back down this way one day and visiting the Dead Sea and Qumran, where the Dead Sea Scrolls were found. So now we're heading up towards Jerusalem. We'll be going up in those hills directly ahead of us. And we will be able to get into Jerusalem when the sun's still up, so I think you'll have some... We went to one checkpoint and they looked at us, looked at our paper, and said, okay, go ahead.
Here's the 12th of November.
Jerusalem, my destiny. Oh, I cannot see the end for me. Cannot turn. We have sat away. This journey is our destiny. Into my view, here among you, I have found the vision bright and new. I have fixed my eyes on Jerusalem, my destiny. Oh, I cannot see the end for
Whatever you think is best. Whatever you think is best. Keep in the pens. Some Bedouin encampment on the right. We'll see a few of these. These are the Bedouins I told you who used to live up closer to Jerusalem, where there now is a large Israeli settlement town, the largest of the Israeli settlements, just on the eastern edge of Jerusalem. And these were the Bedouins who were given an opportunity, were made to move, but then again, another Bedouin camp on the left here, with the sheep and the goats being brought in for the day. You would think, you look at this area and you think, well, there's not much for the sheep and goats to eat, but if you look real closely, there is vegetation there for them to eat. So anyway, these Bedouins were told by the Israelis, well, if you move someplace else, we'll build you some houses to live in, and they chose not to. They wanted to continue their traditional way of life in these tents, which can be very cool in the heat because they can take off layers and the air can come through the loose weave, and when it's cold, they put on additional layers to the tent, and they have generators and trucks and things, so they can have generators so they can watch television, and have refrigerators, so they have some modern conveniences. To the right here, this place that's closed up was known as the Good Samaritan Inn, commemorating the Good Samaritan. This is one of the least absolutely not true places for a site, and we'll talk about that when we come back down. But there in the distance, on the hill, where you see the church towers and the buildings, we're looking at the Mount of Olives, the backside of the Mount of Olives, looking at Jerusalem. So ahead of the bus here, where you see the towers on the tops of the hills, that's the Mount of Olives, and we're looking at Jerusalem. Down, please. It's cut off completely. Yeah, maybe that is done. Is from the early 1500s. So basically, even though these walls look ancient and are in fact, by our American experience, ancient, they are not from any of the earlier eras when Jerusalem would have been important biblically. The walls, even the location of the walls has changed in 1500 in the last 2,000 years, so that, for example, here is one of the 8 gates in the walls of Jerusalem, 7 of which are open, 1 of which is closed. We'll see the closed one in a little while. This is New Gate. This is the gate we will be going in. It is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. So it's about a 10-minute walk from our hotel down to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Once we've walked it once or twice, you'll be able to find it okay. It's a little complicated, a couple of tricky turns to get down there, and it is in fact down from where we are. So going to it is not so difficult, but there are a lot of steps, lots of steps to get down there. They're little roads. I shouldn't say roads. They're paths, the passageways inside the old city, which are not open to motorized vehicles except for these tractors that deliver goods, are narrow, but they also have steps. Actually, when the Pope came here, they built some ramps in there so that his they built a special vehicle so that he could be driven into the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, because of course even at that point in time 3 years ago he was not physically able to do much walking, and made as typical Roman city with big main roads that went north and south and east and west. Today these big roads are very small passages because all the shopkeepers have encroached upon the road and to put their goods out, so that what was a wide enough road probably for two-way chariot traffic anyway is now barely wide enough for two-way person traffic, and that's another reason why it's important for us to make that switch in days, because we'd just be crushed tomorrow. So this gate, Damascus Gate, you can see is way below the street level here. Although when the walls were built 500 years ago, when this gate was made, this was the street level here. So this is all fill-in the last 500 years. And actually, the gate here at Damascus Gate from the Roman times is below the gate you see down there right now. So this is Damascus Gate, named for what's outside of it. This is the road that leads to Damascus. So you come out this road and keep going, and you get to Damascus. On the left is the German Sisters School. That's a very fine girls' high school here in Jerusalem. You can see here that parts of the walls are actually quarried rock, and the base of the walls is this area used to be a rock quarry, and in fact, right behind these buildings is a place known as the Garden Tomb. I'm going to talk to you some more about the Garden Tomb and how in the last century some Protestants came to believe that was the place where Jesus was buried, and I'll tell you why it could not possibly be true. This is Herod's Gate, and when we enter into for our way of the cross, we will probably be coming in here, Herod's Gate, a very small gate. The street to our left is Saladin Street. Saladin was the commander of the forces opposing the Crusaders, and Saladin Street is the main business street of East Jerusalem. It's where our travel agency is located and many other businesses. Ahead of us, the building with the tower and the Israeli flag, this, just straight ahead of the bus right now. This is the Rockefeller Museum. It's a very fine museum of antiquities from the Jerusalem area, and indeed all of the Holy Land. Originally funded by the Rockefellers, that's why it's called the Rockefeller Museum. One of the places that perhaps on that free day some of you may want to visit if you're interested in all kinds of archaeological artifacts. So the Rockefeller Museum here. We're still going along the north wall, and until recently you were actually able to walk up on the ramparts of the wall of the old city. Because of the security situation, that's not possible, but today, or this week, or this month, or this year probably. So we're going to turn now, and we're going along now the west wall, and below us is one of these valleys, the Kidron Valley. Straight ahead of the bus right now is the Mount of Olives. We'll be going to the top of the Mount of Olives on Saturday and walking down, visiting the various shrines. There's 4 or 5 shrines for us to visit as we make our way down the hill, including, you see these beautiful golden onion domes ahead of the bus at about 1 o'clock now. It's the Russian Orthodox Church on the Mount of Olives. This is an area where people are buried. There's to the right we have Muslim graves, and then on the Mount of Olives on the left there are many Jewish graves. The bottom of the hill here, we're going to be turning right and continuing up along the walls, but the bottom of the hill is the Church of Gethsemane, Church of All Nations, where the agony in the garden took place. We'll be visiting that. Maybe on Friday night we'll try to go there and have a holy hour. We'll see how our days go and how we feel, but we'll certainly be visiting the church. So now we're driving below the walls on the east side of Jerusalem. And there you see clearly the Church of All Nations and the Garden of Gethsemane. And then the Russian Orthodox Church, and a little further up, there's a little dome. That's the church where Jesus wept over the city of Jerusalem. That's where we'll be having our Mass as we come down. And that, Father Luis, is where Brother Leo is. Brother Leo is a friar from our province who is working here in the Holy Land. So we'll hopefully see him on Saturday. So we make a turn here, and we're going now along the southern walls as we make the turn. And on the right-hand side, you'll be able to see an area that's right below where the Muslim shrines are now. And there's some excavations here, and there's some steps here. We're going to be coming into this area of excavations and looking at some of the things here that are actually from the time of the Second Temple, the time of Jesus. So we'll be making our visit there, but we're going to park the bus now very shortly, and I'm going to ask you to, as we park the bus, to come on off. We're going to. Okay, we are standing in front of the western wall, the Wailing Wall of the hotel. Just the name, it's the same thing. What you are looking at is part of a great retaining wall that Herod built just before the time of Jesus to make a flat space at the top of where the form for the Temple Mount. There was a mountain here, Mount Moriah, which is the top of which is right underneath the Dome of the Rock. So Herod built these great retaining walls all the way around, filled it in with dirt, created a flat platform to build the temple on, and then a big temple square in front of it. Again, we'll see that more clearly when we visit the model of the Second Temple this afternoon. After the second Jewish the first Jewish revolution. So about the year 67, the temple was completely destroyed. Historians tell us that not one stone was left upon another of the buildings that were up there. And in fact, that's so true that today they cannot even find the foundations for the temple. Literally everything that would have been on the surface, a little bit below the surface, is completely gone. We'll see an example of that in a few minutes. They didn't tear down the retaining walls, of course, because the retaining walls were built into the, there was dirt behind them, so you couldn't literally pull them down without pulling down the whole mountain. You'll notice that these stones are very large stones. There's actually a lintel stone that goes across there where the bushes are. That was one of the entrances that you went down and then walked up in the interior staircase. And we'll see another example of the staircases of where the temple was. But these are typical Herodian stones, very finely made, decorative elements around the outside.
November 12th, 2003. We are in Jerusalem, Old Jerusalem, at the Wailing Wall. A holy wall for the Jews. We're going down, men come into this door, women through the other door on the other side. Okay.
That's it too. Yeah. Big picture together with me and Bill.
And Bill? Okay.
I actually prefer, if I were designing my own trip, I would prefer to come here and go up there because I think there's more things for us to see. The Dome of the Rock is beautiful, there's no doubt about that, but I always feel a little uncomfortable up there, even though you have to pay a fee to the Muslims to go in there, and it's not a small fee, it's a very large fee. It's the exact same retaining wall, it's on the other side over there, you know. So this wall is just as holy as the other wall, minus, of course, the prayers of centuries of Jews who have come to it. The wall that you visited just a moment ago is the wall that was kind of designated as the place. Before 1948, there was just a street that ran in front of there, and it was only about 6-7 feet wide, and that was when Muslims were allowed by the Jews were allowed by Jordanians to go there. It was just on a street. And again, this whole plaza you saw there was the 5th quarter of Jerusalem, the Moroccan quarter. All of it torn down, all the people removed, so they had that nice plaza and the broad area in front of the wall. So this wall you see here, again, you can see how part way up you have these big, large, nicely carved stones, Herodian stones, and then above that, smaller, rougher stones. Those have been put out in later centuries as part of the wall maybe fell down and they fixed it. You see the beginning there of what looks like it might be an arch coming out from the wall. There was an arched way, we're in that valley I told you about that runs through the center of Jerusalem. It was kind of the natural sewage system that ran right through Jerusalem. And so there was a valley here, it's called the Cheesemakers Valley. I don't know, maybe Cheesemakers had some stores along there. But I mean, basically it was an open sewer that ran out in this area, therefore Dungate. But this was an arch that... Okay, what we are looking at here is the roadway from the time of Jesus, and a Temple Mount that Herod had erected by putting up the retaining wall. Herodian stones, nicely carved, bevel edge around them, huge stones. Imagine the engineering accomplishment Herod did was putting up the retaining wall. Forget the temple, they needed a retaining wall. When the Romans came and destroyed the temple, again, they leave one stone standing on the other. They put the stones off the top, destroying the road down here, right in front of us. You see the actual pavement of the Roman road under Jesus. It would have been destroyed by the destruction of the temple, which is lost down. Back there, you actually see the stones from the temple. You know, it's interesting. The temple was destroyed, the Jews were expelled from Jerusalem, and the Temple Mount was abandoned. And when the Christians, when the rest of Roman rule, when the Roman Empire became Christian, the Christians had no interest in it. Because remember, Jesus came to destroy the temple. There would be a new temple there. 2 days. It was abandoned. It was a trash dump during the period from about 325 to 667 when the Christians ruled Jerusalem. And only when the Muslims...
Are you going down, Jerry?
This is more great than the other side. I like this side better. Oh no. They don't have any color in there.
The old city of David.
Say a few words and I'm going to let you explore a little bit more. These were the main southern steps to enter into the temple. You'd come up these steps again down from the city of David. You see there a little bit of a lintel. That would have been one of the entrances. But the primary entrances are those three walled up arches you see there. And there was a way of coming in and a way of going out, just like they have over there for the western wall. And in the wintertime, like now, when it was a little chilly, now it's starting to warm up for us actually, but in the wintertime when it was chilly, this is where the rabbis would gather. These are the steps, the actual steps. These rougher steps are the steps from 2,000 years ago. Obviously, in some places, they have put in new stones to make it even for people to get up and down. But these were the steps that people would have walked up to the temple 2,000 years ago. So something here that was actually probably more associated with the temple than that retaining wall we saw. And rabbis in the winter would sit on these southern steps and teach their disciples, because you'd had a nice warm sun, like we have a nice warm sun right now. And so when the weather was cold, you could sit here on the steps, be warm, and teach your disciples. And we know one story from the Bible when Jesus was teaching his disciples, instead of the temple precincts, this would have been the temple precincts, and he was talking about how they were to try to be holy on the inside and not so much worry about what was on the outside.